We still have a couple of things that are out, but we're almost there. We're almost there.
Thank you.
All right, 6 o'clock, and I'd like at this time to call the meeting of the Gilmer County Board of Education to order and take roll. Mrs. Hurley.
Present.
Misty Cribb.
Present.
Carl Armour.
Here.
Tom Ratliff.
Here.
All here and accounted for. And at this time, Mr. Ratliff is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, we will have delegations, and I would like to remind those who have signed to speak that you are limited to 3 to 5 minutes. At this time, Mrs. Starkey.
Is it 3 or 5?
3 to 5.
Oh. All right, good evening. I'm here to discuss a few items that should be under the law of public knowledge. Item number 1 is during the March Board of Education meeting, the cornerstone for the one elementary was discussed during the delegation's agenda. After this, it was tabled until the next meeting on the agenda. It was brought forth at the next meeting and discussed at the next meeting. However, under the delegation policy, which was also discussed in this meeting and brought forward and tabled for the next meeting, it was not brought up the next meeting. And I was wondering why. I mean, if we can table a cornerstone that we couldn't even do because it was facilities that only belong to the State Board of Education, why couldn't we discuss a policy for agenda when it was voted by this group to put on as tabled and brought to the next meeting, and it was not brought to the next meeting? Mr. Hardman's questions in the delegation were answered. So I'm asking you to please answer me, why was it on the next agenda? Did you board members actually decide, which you couldn't do in private, not to do it because it didn't show up at the next meeting? Now, you answered Mr. Hardman's questions in delegations, you answered Mr. Kinder's questions in delegation, and I'm asking for an answer to my question in delegation, unless you're playing favorites, which I don't think you are. But I'm still want to know why it wasn't brought up. Because you all voted to table it and bring it to the next meeting, yet it wasn't on the agenda. And that's my question, because I'm very interested in that policy, what it do. Also, listen to the meetings on the network, which I have to wait a little while, but I still get to listen to them on them. And I would like to talk to you about the technology, also the problem of that we were having with some of the technology and the testing. Now, I truly believe, and I listened to the technology meeting, Dr. Armour, I really listened to it to see what was discussed. In that meeting, it was discussed by one of the technologists that they were having trouble because the teachers could not do all the computer things. And I know, being a teacher, I wouldn't have been able to, but they did say that in that meeting. So you were correct. Your assessment of the technology and the testing were correct, in my opinion. And the reason for that technology is, and I would have voted with you, Mr. Armour, on the technology for this reason. After, you don't need to keep, you don't do that to other people. Please don't do it to me.
We have 3 to 5 minutes.
Now, see, I've lost a half a minute just by you holding up your fingers and doing this to me. All right, what I'm saying, the technology that we have every year had nothing to do with the high school, had nothing to do with the elementary or anybody else, but every year that I was on the Board of Education, this happened to us. They brought the technology up without ever letting us hear what the technology committee had to say. And they would do the same thing to us that they were doing here. And I think Misty can tell you this is true. They would bring up the technology for $200,000 or $100,000 in technology and say to us, now if you don't vote it tonight, we're going to lose it. They did it to us every time, yet we didn't know what inventory we had, what anything we had on that, because nobody told us. I went back and listened to the technology meeting because I wanted to know if that was discussed, anything. Because at one time I came to, before this board myself, and I asked that anything that was not being used at the high school in technology be sent to the Career Center, because the Career Center needed it desperately in their repair classes. Would one of you all watch him watching his watch? That is.
Your time is up. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
You didn't do that to Mr. Harmon, you didn't do it to Mr. Kendry, and you didn't do it to other people. You should not be doing
All
it to me.
right, Nikki Harper.
Good evening. I just wanted to make the board aware of a grant that I received for the chemistry and physics classroom through the Spectroscopy Society of Pittsburgh. Last week, you allowed me to go to the awards banquet to receive the grant on Wednesday. And they have approved us for 25 student spectroscopes, 3 power tube supplies, 10 different spectrum tubes of different elements, a Tesla coil, a Mark-Kaiser plasma globe, and an absorption spectroscopy demonstration kit. All of that totals roughly around $2,000 after shipping and taxes. And in the future, I hope to apply for it again, but you have to take a year hiatus, so you can apply every 2 years. So we were able to receive that through their generosity.
And our plan is to apply.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always struggled in teaching the CSO where you have to teach quantum mechanics, and science is supposed to be 50% hands-on, and I never could find a way to actually make that CSO hands-on. Now that we have this spectroscopy equipment, the students can actually analyze the line spectrum for all of these different elements based on the quantum model, and then identify chemical unknowns based on the known spectrum. So that's how it will be implemented into the classroom.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item 4, approval of the 2015-16 budget.
On April 30th, I gave you the budget at Sanford right before we had the meeting with the LSIC. I asked you as board members, if you had any questions on the budget, please give them to me by May 15th. I've only received one board member sent me 2 or 3 questions, emails, excuse me. And Kendra and I got together and answered those emails and everything to Mr. Armour. And so really basically I have the responses to the questions that Mr. Armour asked in his questions. If anybody would like to have a copy of them, I can give them a copy of that. And with that all said and everything else, my recommendation to the board is approve the 2015-2016 budget.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'd like to have a copy of this.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion to approve the 2015-16 budget. Do we have a second?
A second to discuss.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now discussion.
I recall this time last year when the same subject came up, and the recommendation was made to approve the budget. And we had a discussion, okay, you're asking us to approve everything, including that part of the budget for which we have absolutely no say. So is that the motion that we're making now, that we just approve everything, even that what we have no say over?
I just passed out the motion with you guys to make an addendum. It came out too late. I passed it down too late. But it does say the same thing that you did at last year's with that footnote that's in your, did you get it, Dr. Armour? I'll send it down that way. Right there's one. It's on, right here, yeah.
I think I passed off this Yeah, let me see. I
Everybody got
passed the
copies.
stuff
Right
right
there,
in
it's
your
right
email.
on your left-hand side,
See,
right
that's,
there.
that's what I received instead of the answers to Dr. Unger's question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, thank you, I have it.
Everybody got one now?
That's what you guys made the motion last year, seconded with that footnote, and that footnote exactly came out of the
I've got
the
some
board
issues.
minutes of last year.
You show where is it?
You have the motion in your hand.
The motion's at the top, made by Tom and by Misty, that was what they made last year. Right underneath of it is the footnote that you guys worked out with the Department of Education.
It was my understanding. Go
I
ahead.
know this doesn't, if you handed this to 10 different people and asked them what it meant, you get 10 different interpretations.
I'm just telling
Why
you,
can't we discuss what I originally brought up? You're asking us to approve the budget holistically, including that part over which we have no say. Why can't we say something as simple, to put the words in that effect? You know, we approve the part of the budget over which we have control.
I was asked to bring the motion, what you guys did last year, and what the footnote was to it, and that's exactly that came out of the minutes. That's exactly how you approved the budget last year, working with the department.
This is not the motion that I made last year. And the motion that I made last year and was passed never even got in the minutes.
That's true.
That's the part of the minutes that I got from the minutes.
Okay,
Now,
that's
if you
an
wanna make
example
another-
that the minutes
you wanna
that we
make another
have are
motion
not
and
correct
amend
minutes.
You feel, amend the motion and go with it.
It wasn't.
That's all.
Okay,
Who made the original motion?
okay, may I make an amendment?
I think Tom was making the original motion, right, so it's okay with him, he makes the original.
Okay.
and
So
I'll
could
amend
I
my
amend the
second.
motion by saying that we approve that part of the budget over which we have control? And I'd also add that we be given the figures to tell us how much money we have control over.
I just passed that out for you.
Okay, would you show me the figure?
Yeah, you just got,
Okay,
it
where
was
are
it was one of your things to do, I emailed it to you.
This is what he's talking
No, that's not what I'm talking about,
Is
no.
it responses?
No, it's just like a line item, I sent it to you today. We got it from
Okay,
the State
I
Department.
didn't get it.
We got it from the State Department.
Okay, so in that line item, it tells us exactly how
It
much
tells
money.
you what's responsible for the State Department, what's responsible for the,
You have a copy so we can see it?
yes, I just passed it out to you
The
all.
line
about.
item.
We didn't get it. All we have is Charles' answer to the response to Dr. Unger.
There was three pieces of paper that I passed out. This
Okay,
is the one,
here's the one, sir, that you
here it comes. You're right, here it comes.
Okay.
Getting there.
Okay. Okay, yeah, this is a question I asked. I would like to know exactly how much money the proposed budget for the coming year is the board responsible for, and how will expenditures be reported to enable me to easily know the status of remaining funds in that category each month. Okay, so this is your response.
That's the one the State Department sent me.
Okay, let me look at this.
And before we make a motion to do anything to vote, I have a couple of questions.
There's
Yeah.
already a motion and second already out.
Oh, we still have a discussion though.
Yes.
Okay, so we
Right,
have a
I
discussion.
know, but they're getting ready to do another, and I didn't want to go all that way until I had a chance to discuss. You know, we haven't seen the 2014 audit. You have that?
It's coming.
Uh,
I got a meeting with them. I got to talk to the gentleman that did the audit.
Mr. Devon, that audit, and I hated to do it this way,
It's on the
is sitting on the West Virginia Auditor's website. Answered by the board or by the office, and I printed it, I have a full copy.
Okay. That's
Uh,
good, because I just received my copy today.
Well, dated May 6th that it was done, and I find it odd that the board's never been informed that the auditors were even there.
I just received it today.
Well, I know, but the auditors had been there much prior to that, to do it. I
I'm
mean,
talking about the budget now. We'll talk about the audit another
well, the
time.
audit is relevant to
My
the budget,
recommendation is, this is the budget that we have. These are the figures that the State Department will send us.
When did the State Department send you the figures to do the budget? Did they
We got
send you
preliminary-
that
we got-
budget?
We got preliminary comps from them, right before we did the budget and send it to you on April the 30th.
You may get a budget control report or whatever, I understand that, but
We
they
get
did not do
preliminary
this budget.
We We get preliminary budgets from the state.
When do you get a preliminary budget from the
We
state?
got it right before April the 30th, before you got the budget,
So you're saying what was presented to us in that meeting was the preliminary budget as presented by the state?
the figures. And we fill out their form that they give us, what they give us, we fill it out to you.
And they're telling you, and they also are telling you the figures now?
Sure.
That's been going on
That's
for
been
a long
going on for
time.
years.
No.
Oh, yes.
No,
Well,
sir.
no.
You do get an update monthly on any line items that are, that need to be
That's not
adjusted
true.
for expenditures. Whether they are over expended, under expended, or under budgeted, et cetera. That's been going on for many, many
But
years.
where you plug it in is
No,
already
the
determined.
plug-in, there is, Bill, I've done budget in this state for many years.
Oh, I have
There's a,
too,
well,
Norman.
all right then, there is a form that you can plug it in. Anyone in the world can plug it in.
Sure.
But that's just to make it easier for you, so that when you do plug it in, it adds up. And see if your revenues and expenditures agree. But that doesn't have anything to do with budget preparation. That's just a form to assist you with. When you do a budget, now if you've done a budget at that college, you know very well that that had to be discussed as far as how much carryover you have, you know, any items you may have exceeded in your expenditures throughout the year that you did not foresee, or income that has
Well,
dropped.
sure, that was all part of the budgeting process.
Yes, sir, and that's where my problem
But we
lies.
also, if we
We've
got
not been
capital
included in
funds, that went in a certain
Uh,
category.
Exactly,
Personnel-
Bill, you're right,
personnel,
and I'm not
it-
disagreeing with you,
Yeah.
you are right, okay? But what I'm saying is we've not been permitted to participate in that process. What is happening here is we are handed a budget, and I understood that we were all going to get together up at the office where Mrs. Brown could be handy with all of her information, and maybe have a work session to discuss it so that we could understand where these numbers are coming from and how they relate to what has happened last year, and certainly should be what happened with this audit since it was available and had been done, you know. And all we're doing, and that's up to the board, you know, I'm only one member, all I can say to you, that what is happening here is we have been handed a budget. We've had no participation in that budget, we had no work sessions on that budget. I'm quite sure that there's not one of us who could honestly say, well, this is over or under from last year, our revenue is increased or decreased in this particular area, or our expenditures are growing here, and we've had to put more money here, and therefore reduce it in another area, and what that area is. We could not intelligently discuss this budget. At least I cannot. That's all I have to say.
Okay, we have a motion that has an addendum to it. Any further discussion on the motion?
Can you repeat your addendum so I make sure I have the parts of the budget that you are responsible for?
Let me see here. See if this will work.
You got it written down, pass it down.
Approve the
Right.
budget the board is responsible for which documentation of its amount, followed by monthly reporting on the status of the funds. Okay, that's a little bit rough. That was for me not to pass down. But anyway, I guess my amendment was approve that part of the budget that the board is responsible for with documentation of how much we're responsible for, followed by monthly reporting of the status of the funds we have to manage. I can clean that up, but that's basically it. And I looked, I know I'm going a little bit more than just talking about the amendment, but the handout that you gave, now I've covered it up and lost it. Well, anyway, we're responsible for something like $3 million,
This one.
and that so that comes out to about 13% of the total budget. Is that correct? The board is responsible for about 13% of the total budget.
Majority of your budget's gonna be personnel, which includes your personnel, service personnel salary, professional salary, substitute professional, substitute service, all your fringe benefits with PEIA, your step 7 budget, which is already, the state tells you what you need to do with the PEIA, with your step 7 budget.
So we're
Your bus,
responsible.
your buses, your transportation, all that, state's telling you how much money you have for busing and all this other stuff, mileage reimbursement, everything like that.
So we're responsible for $3,160,554, and the grand total is $24,566,295. Now, I haven't had time to digest that, but I assume that this $24 million includes everything that's in Fund 51.
Everything in your budget.
Okay, so that is in,
That's your total budget for the
okay.
year.
So they're controlling 21 million versus 3 if you just rounded it.
Yeah, so 13% is what we're controlling. Okay.
Can I have that back, Carl? I know you
Okay,
have-
any other discussion on the motion as
I know you got it.
amended? Do I hear a motion that we, do I hear a motion that we approve the motion as amended?
So moved.
Okay, second? All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let's, if you want to show of hands, we can do that. Those in favor?
Is this just the motion that Dr. Armour made?
Yes.
Just amended, yes.
Okay, motion carries.
You didn't approve the budget.
You haven't approved the budget.
No, you have not approved the budget.
And that approves the 2015 budget.
No, it
No,
doesn't. No,
no.
it doesn't.
Okay.
No, I just asked if that was the
Doesn't.
for the motion
All right,
Dr.
now
Armour
let's
made.
get back to approving the 2015-16 budget. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
This is involving incorporating the amendment, because a minute ago we were just voting on the amendment. This is to approve, okay, just for
This
clarification.
is the
Okay.
budget.
One thing I'd add, since we can say anything we want to during discussion, I think it really would have been helpful if each board member had had access to that audit, so that we could have gone through it and had some general knowledge, are we up or down, where are we?
There are questions that really need to be, the board should have been able to ask.
Mr. Devano,
I've only had a quick glance at it all day long, and just today, because I found it today, just by happen chance.
Mr. Devano, when will the state board approve whatever they are responsible for as it was broke out by Mrs. Brown?
We'll send it down and tell them our budget's been approved by this motion and
And
the
then they'll approve
addendum.
the
We'll see if
remaining.
they'll accept it. If they don't, they'll come back before.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. A show of hands, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, all those opposed?
All,
In favor
Okay,
or
the
opposed?
motion
Opposed.
passes.
Opposed, okay.
All right, item 5, consent agenda. We will take these items as a group unless there's one particular one or two that you want to pull out and deal with separately. Do I hear a motion that we approve the consent agenda?
I would like to discuss budget supplements and transfers, please.
Okay, we want to approve then all except item B.
Also, let me take a look here real quick, I had another question. Also, the financial statements, I'd like to ask a question on.
Consent agenda, then everything except B and C. Okay, we have a motion to approve. A second.
Second.
All those in, Tom, did you make the, you made the motion?
wait a minute, I was thinking of numbers here, what is the motion?
The motion is to approve the consent agenda with the exception of B and C, which we're going to pull out separately.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention, okay.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, now, B, under consent agenda, budget supplements and transfers.
I have a question because I'm not sure that I understand. I wish Mrs. Brown were here. Regarding transfer of county undesignated funds, I know where that is on the revenue side. This is expenditures, but I'm only seeing one side of the journal entry. And I would like to know where the other side of the journal entry is. And Mrs. Brown would have to answer that. But, I believe, but I see it time and again, but I'm not seeing, it's double-sided accounting, it always is. And I'm not seeing the other side of the entry. I'm not sure if it's coming from beginning fund balance. I note on the revenues that the unassigned fund balance of $425,000 is never changing and has not yet been brought in. It's budgeted, but not yet brought in. And I'm just a little confused on how that's being handled. So I very much, and I'm sure Mrs. Brown would be the person that would answer it, I'd very much appreciate being able to ask Mrs. Brown those questions and getting some clarification so I can understand how this is being handled exactly.
As I said in the past, if you have questions when you receive your budget, please email the questions to me by Friday, and I'll have these answers for you on Monday. That would be the thing to do. If you want Mrs. Brown to answer that, then send me an email, I'll get her to answer for you. So,
Okay,
I would have thought the treasurer would have been here for a budget approval.
what
but I
about,
presume she's busy.
C, financial statement treasury?
Right, there's another thing missing that I wanted to ask about, and, when I'm looking at these, cash accounts and things, which I know that's not here this time, I'm not seeing any encumbrances. And I know that we have encumbrances, we have outstanding checks. So it confuses me as to cash balances when I don't see the outstanding checks. I don't know if that's after the outstanding checks, or if it's prior to the outstanding checks being reduced by that. It's just confusing, and I'd just like some clarification on that, so I really know what I'm looking at when I see it, please.
Okay, well, yes.
Now, this may be out of order. I just picked this up today, and I didn't have time to put it on email and ask the question. But account 0044, we're transferring funds out of maintenance into maintenance supplies through 6/30/15, $35,000. And I'd really like to know what that is. Also, there were several entries in there about excess levy funds to various accounts. And my question was, and you can answer this later, are we in complete compliance with what the excess levy funds that were supposed to be used for, to be doing everything that we're obligated to do?
there's three categories in the excess levy, and they're specified exactly which category, which one we have to do. And we've been looking at that every day we move money, we make sure it's in compliance.
So the answer, we're in total compliance with what we said we would do.
That's another question I have on the excess levy, is the fact that there are three broad categories, but there are line items under each one. And I'd like to see that breakdown for this year's budget.
Mrs. Hurley, I don't really wanna, I know you say you know budgets and stuff, but if you will look at these and know the codes and stuff like that, you can pick up a lot of that stuff on these codes and stuff. But let me explain something to
But I'm
you
talking
too.
about the current
When I was at the
budget.
State Department down there, I talked to Mr. Pranetta.
Yes.
He's coming up with a thing, and he gave me a sample, and this is what you guys are gonna be getting from now on. This is gonna be your whole budget, it'll tell you everything you got, and I'll present it to you when he gets it corrected, and send some stuff to me. He's working with the treasurers a lot across the state that are gonna be using this in some of the takeover counties. I know there's a couple that one they just released is really working hard on one of these budgets, because they're having problems right now again. But this will be your whole budget, so when we do, you'll have everything right there at your hand and stuff. So
Well-
that's something he's gonna send out, and as soon as they approve it, he gave me a copy when I was down there.
Well, the thing of it is that I do know budget, and I do know that I can go to the auditor's website and look at the line items through 2014 that are broken down and reported to them, and have been every year. I know that it was changed to the three basic food groups, if you will. I understand how that was done. I also know that there are individual line items that are reported on expenditures to the auditor's office. It's not out there for this budget, the 2015-16 budget. I'm sure at some point it will be. I was just wondering if we could see that prior to having to wait to find it on the auditor's website.
Okay, now, are we where we're ready to entertain a motion on approval of B and C? Do I hear a motion that we approve? point where, as I understand it, there, is a desire for additional information, which is not here. And if we approve with the idea that that information will be forthcoming, I think that would clarify it, but, your motion is to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, let's move on then to new business. Item A, adopt state policy 2419.
State Board Policy 2419 is dealing with our special students that we have. It's a state board policy, but you guys as a local board's got to approve it to get federal funds. And that's all it is, that you're going to approve that we will have policy 2419 in our county. It's just mostly formality, just to get federal money, about basically what it is.
Could you give us a brief overview what this pertains to? I read it, and if I said I understood it, I wouldn't be telling the truth.
It's just dealing with your special education students and the compliances and everything that we have to go through with special ed. And it talks about your IEPs for special ed, nature and what we can do, and guidelines and stuff, and online special ed stuff that we have to do for special ed kids. It gives you a guideline exactly what we should be doing as a county for special ed and some of the federal programs that deal with special ed. But that's why you have, the federal people have to say, you have a state board policy, but each one of your counties have to approve that state board policy. It's basically what it is.
So I'd be correct in assuming then that what we have is probably boilerplate, each county, what you have.
Right.
All right, do we have a motion to approve adopting state policy 2419 for
So
Gilmer
moved.
County? Second,
Second.
discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, item B, Dinsmore and Shoal.
You all wanted me to look at who was gonna start looking for information on the schools and the titles and give us some information on what we have for the schools that are gonna be closing, within a year or so. I talked to an attorney that does a lot of school law that helps us out once in a while with our school law, and I asked him, and he's dealt with this several times, out in the other counties that are doing the same thing that we're doing right now. And he sent me a proposal which I thought was really reasonable, that on the back of it, he's gonna do everything for about $1,500. And that's includes the travel, the record room searches, and copy charges to clerks, and opinion for drafting. So I thought we better he changed his mind, we need to,
$1,500?
that's what it says on the back, that we need to probably jump on that as fast as we can if that's what he's gonna do.
Well, that's estimated, correct. I mean, it does say we do not envision the project taking more than $1,500, and it estimated 3 hours of record room review.
Right. And he
So
said it could be
$500
less,
an
and
hour.
it could be less, and it could be a little more, but it's about $1,500 that we have.
Well, I mean, I realize you told us that, or suggested to us that you were going to bring this to us, and not necessarily from Dinsmore, but we did discuss it for a brief minute, the fact that we were going to be looking at the deeds for these schools. But has it been cast in stone that we're going to, either sell or dispose of Glenville Elementary? I had thought, it was my impression from various meetings and various discussions, having heard over the years here from Mr. Blankenship and coming forward here, that we were going to move the offices to Glenville Elementary.
That we'll discuss the next step now. Right now, it's if you wanna approve this letter and stuff. If you
Well-
wanna hire Dinsmore and Scholl to do the background search on these deeds.
But if there's a, that's my question,
We need
do
a
we need to have
motion
the time spent on
second
Glenville Elementary if
yes.
we're not going to sell it?
I'll make
Okay,
a
let's, have
May I make a motion?
Yes.
Could I make a motion that we table any consideration of this until we get more information? Because it could be that there may be other options to consider other than disposing of this property.
I'll
I'm
second
not
it.
sure
Would
about
there be a problem for you to
I'll second.
table it for a while?
No, but my question is, some of this property we might not even own. it might revert back, that was the biggest concern that some of y'all had, it might revert back to the family.
That's true too.
So
Yeah,
we
don't
need to
believe Glenville
know, we
Elementary's
need to
on
know
that.
what goes back to the family, and what doesn't go back to the family, that's why we were doing this research.
So
But
if
if
we
we're-
do this, we'll just have some information. We're not making any commitment.
That we might
If
not
we can get it
pay
done
for,
for $1,500,
maybe.
Yeah, I think we have to know, because right now, we don't know, for example, at Troy, what happens with the school building or the playground property that's beside it. We need to know that,
we need to know what our options are.
yes.
You need to know what we can do and what we can't do with the buildings.
Okay.
Like somebody told me Sand Fork goes back to their family. I don't know that for sure,
I've
that's just
heard that
rumors
about Troy and
and some
Normantown.
stuff like that. Now, I know Troy, there was one section of the land that reverts back. Now, what the rest of it does, I don't know.
Yeah, in Normantown, I believe, I've been told always historically, that it reverts back to the Norman family and it's no longer utilized by the Board
See,
of Education.
these are all rumors and we need to verify it.
So do we have a motion?
Yes, let's have a motion.
I move that we proceed and ask this law firm to do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did we not approach any other attorneys?
Not when I asked them, since they're school attorneys, just like,
Yeah, but I mean,
Both
this isn't
are
really a
licensed.
school issue, this is a land need issue.
deals with school property.
Well, it
How to
does, but
dispose
that's
it.
irrelevant, the research, it's a land need issue, whether it's school property or,
With that
my
amount,
house.
with that amount of money, that we don't have to seek anything else.
Well, if we
for
were
this.
guaranteed that, I'd be fine, Mr. Bono, I'm not saying that they're bad people. All I'm saying, I was just wondering, had we approached any other attorney
May I say
for an
something?
hourly
Yes.
rate?
If we can get this done for that price, based on what I've talked with people about, normally charge something like this is a charity case.
But it isn't guaranteed, Carl.
Well,
It doesn't say that. It says we would estimate at least 3 hours at a cost of $1,500. That's $500 an hour. I'm not considering that a charity case. It's a decent price, but I'm not considering it a charity case.
well,
Well, I think we'd be hard put to get a better estimate. And, you know, these folks, that's what they do. And that's what we need to know about disposing of school property. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, down to item C, county office.
Our county office and everything else like this, we were approached by, I guess the health center, who operates the Gilmer Health Center at, where the old mini Hamilton used to be, about moving our county offices over there. And after talking to several people and getting a lease drawn up between the, their committee and our committee, or our board and their board, we had an attorney look over everything else like this. It's gonna be a lot more room over there. There's all kind of parking for us over there. We'll have to do some, little stuff on the inside, not much. We'll have to run some wiring and stuff for our computer systems and things of this nature. We're gonna have more square foot than it's over here. The lease says we will have, all of our electric, our water, our sewerage, all utilities included in the rent for the same price. And that, we will have a custodian, which is there, full-time custodian, which we don't have here. When we looked at the price, it comes out to about $2,879 a month, which includes everything. It's basically what we're paying over here right now, with where we are now. My biggest concern in moving over there and putting our county office over there, I'm surprised we haven't been hit up with something to do with a handicap, because we are not handicap accessible where we are. And this would make us handicap accessible.
We grandfathered in because of the age of that building. The county commission owns it, and that's.
We are not
It's paid
handicap
for.
acceptable.
No, sir.
Okay.
And I'm just telling
So
you, having
this
worked
is-
for the commission, that
this
they
is-
own that building and they were grandfathered in
This
until
is-
such time as you amend it.
This is the one, this is why not only that, the parking and everything else is over there. When they have court stuff, we can't find a place to park, we can't do anything of that nature over here. And you all been up there before, you know what it's like up there.
Have you discussed it with the county commission? Because they
We're
own
working
the
with
building,
the county health center
but the
at
health
this
center
time.
board doesn't own it. And at least the county commission.
Mrs. Hurley, we're working with them. I don't know, the county commissioner's the one that approached us, and they're working with this board.
Now
All
you're
I'm
saying the
telling you
county
is,
commission approached you, is that right?
the county commissioner will have to, they'll approve the lease, which I
Yeah,
think
the rent will be paid to
they're
the
all in
county
favor
commissioner.
for, okay? And, I think that we are in favor for it. Our staff looked it over there. It's a little more room for us, and I make a recommendation that we do approve this lease agreement and we move the county offices to Minnehaha.
Do you have a copy of the lease agreement we could look at?
Have you given that
Need a
thought up
motion
of going to the
second.
All
Glenville
right, let's,
Elementary School?
let's get a motion before we discuss it. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
All right, do we have a second?
No way we can.
We have a second to our motion.
That, I do apologize, I just got from the attorney today, this morning, right before I came down here.
Well, I object to, any time when we're not given advance information and we're expected to vote on something. I just don't think that's a good way to do business. Now, this is how many pages are in this? One, two, essentially two pages of verbiage. And I just don't feel comfortable to, not have time to look at this, maybe, use a legal dictionary, look at a few words, and make a snap decision whether or not we should do this. Speaking for myself.
Do we have a second to our motion so we can discuss this?
I'll second the motion to discuss it.
All right, now then we can have a discussion on the issue.
Have we given up on the thought of moving the office to Glenville Elementary School?
You got a copy of the CFP, read it, it tells you that has to be used as an educational facility. As we look through that,
Well, that would be in the deed, whether or not if we in fact own it.
and it might not be ours, I don't know, we haven't done anything like that.
Personally, I believe that it is. I think that was researched prior to all of it being told that, now, I mean, that would take the title search and that's been approved. Okay, if in fact the title search is to be owned by the Gilmer County Board of Education, have you given up, would you move to Minnie Hamilton and incur that expense? And then think of moving to Glenville Elementary later, or is the state determined to sell Glenville Elementary? I mean, there has to be some decision has been made to change from, we were going to move to Glenville Elementary, and that was said for a very long time, to now, we're looking at moving to Minnie Hamilton, which I think is going to be a little, well, let's just say, I understand there's more room there. I've been through that entire building top to bottom many times. And I think there's more room there. I think you'll find you have a lot more to do than you might anticipate as far as setting up computer, et cetera, the things that need to be done there technology-wise, because it's already in Glenville Elementary available. You've got the trunk line, you've got so many things there. And I'm just concerned that has just been tossed off the table without, if in fact we don't know that we own it, that needs to be researched. But is it just being tossed off the table to move to Minnie Hamilton, or are we looking to spend a lot of money, and it will take money, to move to Minnie Hamilton, and, transfer all the VoIP and all of that, and get that done? And we've had so much problems with the phone service, Lord knows, I shudder to think, but, have we given up on Glenville Elementary?
We know, Norma, I think Glenville Elementary was built for a school. And I think we have several needs in this county. Dr. Armour and I have talked about the need for more alternative opportunities somewhere. Whether it's Troy or Glenville.
Well, you had
wherever.
discussed some alternative education, and that building is plenty big enough and certainly has the ability to be changed to not only put up the Board of Education, but we would have a competition gym there for the elementary students that could be utilized, because the high school gym is certainly well used, I mean, you know, we're spending money to go to different places
And you know, Norma,
and
we've had
other offices to boot.
parents that ask us, could you please provide a middle school opportunity? We do not want to send our seventh graders in a setting with juniors and seniors. Right now, we don't have a way. I asked Ron Blankenship to look at carving out a middle school here, and it could have been done, it would have been awkward. But I think this school gives us an opportunity if we choose to do that.
And it has a potential for many purposes.
Yes.
Bill, I agree. I do. Whether or not the middle school issue, considering what that would do to our high school enrollment, you know, that's another issue, because there's a lot of things to look at. But I just want you to know that, you know, I want to be clear, are we actually moving to Hamilton to totally give up on Glenville Elementary? You know, are there going to be any future options there? And if not, then is the move the wisest thing to do, given we're within a 2-year time span of
I
being
don't-
able to move?
I don't wanna discuss land out in, we should have went into executive session to discuss this, because it's, under executive session, we can do that, discuss lands, purchase, and price. I would like
True,
to
we don't have a
probably
purchase
come
and
back
price.
to you eventually and tell you what the county would like to do with Glenville Elementary if it's ours.
Right.
That'll be a future plan in the future, that we would like to look at that in the future.
Well, and so that's my thought, you know, are we moving to Hamilton, going to spend money? And given the fact that we need so much money for capital projects, you know, I mean, we realize that, you know, and from what I saw, the fund balance, it was down to 540,000 last year. And, you know, there's just things from the audited balance, and there's just things that financially, it concerns me if we jump right to Hamilton, if there's any possibility of doing other things. That's all.
If we go to Glenville Elementary, it's gonna cost you money too.
Well,
You can't
sure.
stick offices in a classroom,
No, but you're gonna have to wire, but you've got your
but I'm not,
technology there.
it won't take us much to
Don't
wire
have
out
to pay
there. We
rent.
were out there this morning, today,
Yeah.
looking at that.
What'd you think about
I would just like to come back in the future and we'll discuss some of the other things, once we find out who owns it, who owns this, or anything else like that.
it? So then we should probably
If-
hold
if
this
you don't
lease
want
until
to,
then?
If you want to, then I'll tell them that we're not interested in Hamilton, but they can rent it out to somebody else, and in the future, we'll have to figure out where we're gonna go from here.
Well, I
all
doubt
I'm
we're in
telling
hot
you is-
competition, but, you
They
know,
approached- They approached us,
I'm sure, they've
and
approached every
they
year.
gave us a
as
heck of a
permission to
deal.
do that.
and,
Dr. Armour?
I don't know where we are procedural wise.
Well, I don't know either at
But,
this point.
I'd feel, speaking for myself, a lot more comfortable if we had more time to think this over. Read the lease and to see a little bit more fleshed out about exactly what it's gonna cost us, what the pros and cons are going to be, what the options are before we make a decision. Because I just scanned that, something like $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. And if we commit to how many years?
It says that it commences June 1 of 15 and terminates May 31st of 17.
So that's quite a bit of money to make a decision about just without very much information.
I think,
If I understood it, and that's basically what we're gonna be paying.
if we stay where we are, we're paying the same
We
amount.
don't have to.
But you use the
can
word,
obligate ourselves
you're
beyond
gonna
one year.
spend money on
Anything.
stuff.
State law says you don't.
You use that word. And I don't know what that means, exactly how much money we would have to spend. I just like to see it fleshed out more so we can make a business-like decision
I think it should be.
that I can
proactive.
defend
Try
on the
this.
street,
um,
whatever we decide to do.
I think we-
Something when we're pressured to do something, make a decision like that, alarm signal goes off of me.
you know, whether we do it now or do something later, I think there are two big issues. One, parking is a nightmare. We have people coming from other counties to our county office to work with our staff, and they say sometimes we park 3 deep. The sheriff says you can park here, but we won't be responsible for any dents that you get in your fender, so that's a problem. And the other problem is handicapped accessibility. I understand some folks have been carried upstairs who could not walk up the stairs. That, to me, is unconscionable to have to do that. And I think we're going to get, in fact, I feel pretty sure that somewhere along the line, we will get a complaint.
Bill, that
You
that
already had
was
one.
grandfathered because it was built prior to the Americans with Disabilities
But what do you do though,
You do any
Norma, when people
modification.
have disabilities and they
Oh,
come
I
to do business
understand, we
with
have
you?
the same thing, the courthouse is not the same way. They have a freight elevator that they cost a fortune to keep that poor old thing in operation. And I've actually gone up and had to try to help get the sheriff out caught between first and second floor. I understand the problem. And, sure, we need that. I don't doubt that, and I'm sure when the magistrate court moves upstairs, which I understand is the plan, hopefully they'll get a courthouse facilities grant, put a two-story elevator there, and all will be copacetic. But my thought is simply that, if we're looking at doing these title searches, and that Glenville Elementary's been on the table a long time,
Well,
the
for
possibility
a variety
of
of
various
reasons.
things, yes, exactly right, you know that. And I just think that it doesn't make sense to me to put a 2-year lease forward, which I'm not too sure we could legally obligate our money beyond 1 year, but that's just another story.
You got the appropriation clause in there, right? That gets you out of it anytime you want.
That's fine,
That's in
but
all-
are you going to,
everything
but
over
are
a
we
year
going
you
to
have
do
to by
this
law.
immediately and move the furniture and probably have to get some in order to fit in there? Because not all the offices are the same, and you're looking at expanding and things like that. I understand these costs, will happen with any move, and you're talking about getting your computer systems up, et cetera. There are costs that will have to be borne wherever you move. And I just really am I'm with Dr. Armour. I think we should at least wait and have one more meeting on it.
Mr. Devon, when is this Densmore and Scholl gonna pursue the title searches?
I told him it was on the agenda tonight, if it approved, then I'll call him tomorrow and tell him, go ahead and start on that thing.
Is the urgency such that it cannot be tabled and brought up at our next meeting so that we do have some time to explore some educational options? That's the feeling I'm getting and hearing from people, is like they would like to be able to either rule out Glenville Elementary as a possibility or consider it. So, is the urgency such that you have to have this approved tonight?
I can't tell you that really to be upfront, but, I know they've already rented 4 offices downstairs. That was something we wanted, those offices, but they've already rented those. I don't know how many other people want those offices out there, I don't know. So if we go back and say, right now, we're unsure what we wanna do, I don't know if I can't tell you what this board will do, what the board will do. Is it, and it was brought to us real quick about a month or so ago. And we've been working out a bunch of stuff. First of all, I wanted to make sure that our lease was what we needed as a board to have that in there, because there were several changes our attorney made in that lease.
I'm thinking, our lease, we said a month lease where we are now, but that removed.
Yeah.
I remember a discussion last year before last, they wanted us out of the building.
They told us that our rent will go up 1st of July up to $1,000 up there, which is $400 or $500 more.
But sir, technically they cannot do that because per West Virginia Code, the county commission is obligated to provide offices to the Board of Education.
I'm just telling you.
Well, they've
what
tried this isn't the first
They were
go
saying.
around with that. They do it every superintendent. They want you to move and they offer to raise the rent. Now,
This
there's
was brought to me several months ago.
they do
way
it every
several months ago.
superintendent. Honest to God, you can check back in
Well,
history.
I think you need to know that it's a possibility they can raise the rent.
Well, the possibility of raising the rent is if you permit them, because West Virginia Code does state that they will provide the Board of Education
Do you have that
offices.
code? I
I
don't
will
see
bring
that.
it, I will see that you get it.
Please.
What's the pleasure of the
Is this the reason they offered that out there, because that's a county-owned building?
That's exactly right.
Good.
I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I support my county commission. Worked with them for 11 years. Know them all very well. And, but at the same token, I also know that he who looks out for himself is gonna come out ahead. And my concern right now, I no longer work for them. My concern is the Board of Education. So that's the reason I bring these questions. Because I know the questions that I feel have been asked before and have been answered and should be asked again. Because every superintendent, this has been an issue since 1999, I can guarantee that.
When they approached me, they did not say they were gonna raise rent if we didn't go.
Right.
It's not.
That's good.
I
I'm
know
glad.
there was 3 commissioners that met with me clear back in November and December and said that they're having problems, that they would probably end up gonna raise our rent. Now, when they brought this to us, this is what it was, this is how many square footage, they did all that for us, and they said, this is what it was. We looked at what we had over here, what we were paying, where we are right now,
Right.
and it wasn't that much.
Difference, I see it's a little more, I understand. You know, I'm not saying that Mini Hamilton building is necessarily bad, don't misunderstand me. I just, really, my major concern is, are we simply, let's just put it on the table. Are we just not going to look at Glenville Elementary anymore? Is it going to be sold? Or, you know, and I do believe that's what will come out. I know the title search has to be confirmed. You know, I'm not telling you what will happen, I'm just saying these are my personal opinions. And if that's just the case, then let's just let the people know that. Because a lot of people have depended on that information from the state superintendent, not yourself necessarily, for several years now. That information has been put out that that is what would happen. And it's come from the Board of Education to the public for several years now. So if that's not going to happen,
Sell Glenville Elementary?
excuse me, no, not to sell it, to move into it and have the offices go there. That was always the
From what I can
anticipation.
read in the CFP, and I can't find it, that has to be used as an educational facility.
Well,
That's-
you got, I
that's
don't,
one.
I
As a
don't
matter of
know
fact,
that, I don't know that there's any definition under the law that says that. I don't know that the CFP addressed the board offices because they didn't own them,
They did address the board
you know,
offices.
but the building, and you know, what you call an educational facility, certainly that's our administration.
Well, Norma, I think attorneys are gonna have to sort this out.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
I'm not a lawyer and.
Neither am I.
So
But
I
I'm just
think
looking
if
at
there are
potential
legal
things that the
issues
public has
there,
been told.
the way to settle it is to let attorneys do the research and advise us.
And in the future, we'll come back after we find out what's what, and we'll tell you how we would like to take
What's your
Glenville.
recommendation, how would you like to handle
the
it?
Gilmer County education system. We'll tell you how we'd like to go. If you wanna approve it, fine. If you don't, then we'll just find other ways we need to go.
I mean, I think that's
But
fair.
I think that's something that we need to do, and it's something that I'll really, listen to citizens. No offense to your webpage, I'll listen to people that I talk to, not people that write comments that don't sign their name to it. But I will have meetings and stuff like this once we decide where we wanna go, with the educational process. But I think first of all, you need to find out who owns the buildings and who doesn't. And
I
if
think
Sanford goes back to a company, then we're out of that one.
Right, first, and same thing with Normantown or Troy, exactly.
But
Or
to sit
even
here
if
and
it's a
tell
portion
you
of Troy.
what I wanna do with Glenville Elementary and the other schools, I would prefer not to do it right now.
Well, if you don't have that information, you really could,
I do have that information, but I don't wanna do it right now.
oh, you don't wanna do it right now.
I'm not ready to
Okay,
do it right now.
all right, that's fair enough. I would rather you dealt
And if
that
I
way
do
than
that, if
to.
I do that, we will go in executive session, because we're going to cause property, and where we wanna go, what we wanna do there.
Okay,
But, I've had discussions with several people where I'd like to take it, and not one of them is in the State Department of Education at this time.
Mhm.
It's local people here, and I will wanna go local with the citizens here and talk to them.
Well, we've got several thousand of them, so
So what's your
If all
pleasure,
7,000 come to a meeting, that would be great.
that'd be wonderful. I'd love to see
what's
it.
your pleasure on the county office? Do you want to delay it? Postpone it? Do you want to vote on it? So it's up to you.
You're asking for a motion?
Yes.
You already made a motion.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You already made a motion and seconded, you can either vote down,
We can vote.
you can make an amendment to it.
You can make an amendment. I asked for a motion to approve, and it was seconded.
Who seconded it?
But we can withdraw the
Okay,
motion.
to discuss,
Yeah, but
okay,
they-
we got
to
to
discuss.
discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Did a long.
But then Mrs. Pritt, I thought, discussed the possibility of delaying. Then I heard Mr. Devano say that it was okay with him to delay it until we got more information.
I'm hearing.
Dr. Simmons said that we needed to get legal advice before we do anything. So if we're still in the discussion phase, I don't know technically where we stand with the motion, but it would seem prudent to wait till we get more information and not make up our minds one way or another.
You can make an amendment to the motion if you want to, if Tom will okay it and Norma okays it, to table it. But let me
Tom,
tell
are you
you,
all right with that? Because you made the motion.
I'll make an amendment
Okay.
that we, table the motion till the next meeting.
Okay.
I'll second that amendment.
All right, we have a motion and an amendment and a second. Now, discussion of the amendment.
Let me go ahead. If I can find this information out right away, can we have a special meeting on this? So that they
Yeah.
don't sell this or they rent it right off the number?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of the motion as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Mr. Dewan, can you forward us a copy of the lease agreement so we can read through it?
I will get your copy.
Okay, item,
You can have
I
that.
passed that, I can have it?
Yeah, it's on my computer. I just got it set right before I came down. Just had it done.
Thank you very much.
You just send it
okay,
to us
item
prior
B
to-
on our agenda, groundbreaking.
Okay, here's your invitations. Make sure you take the one that has your name on it. We're going to, go ahead and do the groundbreaking for the new, Glenville Elementary School on the 6th. That was what the planning committee wanted to do. We sent out a bunch of invitations to different people. The governor is going to send us a little letter. He can't make it. He's already said he wouldn't be back. But, it will be there. It'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll have some tents, refreshments, food for people. We'll have chairs and tables so that people can sit down and view it. It'll be very short. We're gonna get some shovels. We're gonna use, shovels. You 5 board members will have to turn the dirt, so we'll call you up and there'll be 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 other people that'll be there.
Gold shovels?
Turn it out.
You say that's on May the sixth, or, June sixth?
June 6th.
Say, I'm
We-
just,
Going to bring the governor, let's do it right.
D-Day, the 6th of June.
We have heavy discussions over what color we're gonna paint the shovels.
Now, you can't tell me certain things, but are we going to have a gold shovel? That's what I wanted to know.
Do you want a gold shovel?
I want a gold shovel.
We'll put we'll spray paint the bottom of
That'll
it
be
gold.
fine, I understand it would
It'd have
not
a
be.
blue handle though.
Well, that'll be all right, it's blue, wonderful, it'll be pretty.
Okay, anything
I
else?
think I'm the only one with gold shovels, that's what I'm telling her.
Did he
That would
really?
be it.
Oh my God, I changed that up, no.
That's it, and I have one more.
Okay,
No, that's it on new business.
it's on new business, superintendent's information action, item 7.
Ms. West here to talk to you a little bit about the summer school program and the grant that we're gonna be doing off the summer school program.
Well, I'm back from Chicago. I got off the airplane and I went west instead of east, and my first graders informed me I went the wrong way. So I was in Charleston for 6 hours before I ever took off, and it wasn't a major issue, it was a minor issue, but first grade got quite a chuckle out of that. If you wouldn't mind, there's an invitation there to Summer Lab, which is our summer academy program, one for each of you. Dr. Armour, I apologize, I put Mr. instead of
Listen,
Dr.
I'd rather be called
okay.
Carl or Mister.
I just wanted to.
You notice we learned to put names on everything when we pass them out.
And there's two items there. One is an invitation, which is what we gave to our identified kindergarten and 3rd graders. Each of the principals submitted a list of students from their teachers, from their staff. And we tried to make it very colorful, very bright, very kid-friendly. At this point, we have about 20 who are interested in attending, and it's business. You have to go after it. So that's what we'll be doing these next few days at the board office. We are working in conjunction with WBU Energy Express, and so we'll be running our buses and pulling in our Energy Express kids as well as our summer school. I believe also our high school recovery program will be a part of that. So it's a joint effort all across the county to pull our students in for this summer and give them 3 to 5 really solid weeks of extra reading, extra practice, keep them working this summer. We also have teachers committed to working, and our theme is Summer Academy, Sky to Earth. We're going to start telescopically and come in microscopically and focus in on West Virginia agriculture. Just last week, Mrs. Minnie and I went together to the public library, and we got our library cards. And so we're thinking that would be a great field trip to bring our students from the summer lab experience over. And our directors at the national level are encouraging that we allow families to ride the buses that day and make it a family event. So there's just lots of possibilities with what we can do with our summer program. So we're very excited. We're also excited about our community dialogue circles, and I gave you the article that was written by two of the ladies who came and trained us. In our grant, we have a community piece. In each of our 4 communities in Gilmer County, we want to provide a time where we can dialogue about literacy. And it's not about what the schools are doing or not doing. It's what is literacy to you? What's the first book you remember reading? What was the attitude of people towards those who couldn't read when you were growing up? And just that type of dialogue that would be very good for us to have. And so at Folk Festival, in conjunction with Friends of the Library, we will have our lyric place where you can come and sign up and be a part of those dialogues. And I would encourage all of you, as members of our board, to participate in that. Our facilitators have been trained. They are not to give their opinions, but they are to help lead and facilitate those discussions. And I think that'll be a wonderful opportunity. We will dialogue 4 times, and we'll have those dates at the Folk Festival as you sign up and volunteer to be a part of that experience. I think that will be wonderful. We've also connected with our Family Resource Network. Family Resource Network received a grant, and this summer they're going to offer 7 parent engagements throughout the summer. And we are also working with them to help provide those parent engagements. I think 2, 3, possibly 4 of those 7, I'll be going and working with them specifically about parent issues in our schools. So just building community. That we're small, and that's a positive. There's a lot we can be doing, and we want to build on the positive. Also, Friends of the Library have received a grant, and Batman is coming to town. So write that down, July 18th. Batman will be up at the rec center. He's going to bring the Batmobile. And again, it's a joint effort. Family Resource Network will be there. With the grant, we will have access to books, and we're going to be giving out free books to our community that night. There's just a lot of really good things happening. I mentioned that today to one of the first graders and said, hey, did you know the Batmobile's coming to Gilmer County? He said, what's that? I said, Batman,
Yeah.
Batmobile. Oh, Batman's coming! So again, just building that excitement with our students. When you think of the 5 parts of the grant, which I shared with you before, I've spoken thus far about community, our summer lab, parent engagement. Also, professional development is another piece. And just last week I was at Troy and Sand Fork, offered a 2-hour evening webinar at both locations. Tomorrow I'll be at Glenville, and then Thursday at Normantown. So again, working with teachers, providing professional development, getting them excited. There are things that teachers do that they don't need to be doing. And if we can take some of that load off of them and really focus in on practices that are professional and strong, they will feel better about what they are doing in the classroom, and of course our students will benefit. And we're just really excited about just conversations we've been having, and then being able to share with them, what exactly are you doing as literacy coach? Well, here's all these possibilities, just start checking off what you want me to do for you. And they're excited about that aspect also. Having another person in their classroom helping their students to succeed, especially in reading. That's just very exciting for our teachers in Gilmer County, and we're building on that. Again, I thank you for your time, and I'll be back to share more good news, so stay tuned.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Okay, yes, sir.
And I was asked this the other day. What are the age limits on the kids who can go to the literacy?
In conjunction with our Energy Express, we're focusing on those who have attended kindergarten through and even upper grades. At this point, we have really focused, again, our grant focuses on pre-K through 3rd. And so pre-K through 3rd is our focus. Those are the students who have been invited. But as we are receiving responses, we are then contacting older siblings in 4th through 6th grade, so that whole families are being invited and encouraged to participate. One of the areas of concern that I have, as you can see, all they have to do for summer school is check mark. But Energy Express requires 2 to 3 pages of an application form. And so that's a conversation I want to have with our principals. Are there families that have expressed an interest that may need help in filling out those forms? And that's a very, very real issue, and we want to make sure we're sensitive to that also. Again, working as a whole team to provide what's best for our students. I appreciate the question, Mr. Allen.
One thing you want to realize too, what we've talked about, your preschool, your daycare centers, all of what's involved in this grant, they were looking for projectors or a whiteboard and some computers. Some of the stuff that we have access, really, we can't use in the school system. We're gonna let them use, so if somebody tells you we're giving all this stuff away, that's not true, they're part of our grant. And there are students anyhow, eventually they're gonna come up through the system anyhow. So we're gonna help them as much as we can if we have any old, computers or whiteboards or projectors or anything else like that. So that's something else that we're really looking at too. with
Are you
them.
talking about to the individual students or to the teaching?
No, just to the
teaching group?
teaching group, yeah.
Well, I spent a few minutes with Kyra and Sherry a few days ago, and I'm really excited about what you're doing. You're attempting to get right at the root of children's education. And also, I think that we're going to be getting into addressing students who are accelerated too, because we have that group of students as well as the ones we need to really help and pull them up. But I think this is something that's really excellent.
I just like to give my 2 cents. I think we're very fortunate we have 2 individuals of this caliber with the enthusiasm and the dedication that they have. This may be that one of the most important things we've ever done in this county. So thank you.
And we're the only one in the state that has this beside Barton County.
There you go.
And I think we went in with 5 other states, but we're the only one in the state besides Barton County. Also with this grant, we're providing transportation for 3 weeks for our kids to get there, and then we're gonna feed them.
That's good.
That is
Because a
absolutely.
lot of times that's an obstacle that keeps them away. We need to help them. We need to help them.
And we
as
can,
much as
if I understand it right, attending that one meeting, I don't have a clue about getting those books and deciding what we're gonna distribute them to, you know. But different organizations get those free books. And they can be in the library here, they can be at Morgantown,
Starting in the home is going to go a long way to bring those children to reading at grade level by grade 3.
There is funding that we received specifically for summer lab books, $3,000. There is also a chunk of money that the community will then decide. And how can we make that decision if we're not talking and discussing? One of the pieces that the community will then take from our dialogues, there's a form that because it's all about the paperwork. You take a form and you go to the dentist's office. Do they provide books there for children to look at while they're waiting? Does the emergency squad take books into homes when they go in to work with people who need help? What about our fire department?
Yeah.
What about the churches? Do they have rooms where there are books that children, then all of those sites in Gilmer County are to be surveyed. And we are already surveying. We've surveyed the Troy School Library. We've surveyed the Sand Fork Library. Tomorrow I'll be looking at Glenville's and then at Normantown's on Thursday. So again, collecting all that data, and it requires the community to help us collect that data so then we can make the best choice for where we put those books from the community piece.
See, Dr. Armbruch, it's educational stuff. I say stuff, she says chunk.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
We talk educational.
Whatever.
Well, if there's anything that, I can do, or I know any board member here can obligate you, I know that we would be a positive spokesperson in the community to help you with anything we can. I have a lot of young mothers that work for me that have children in the system, so if you're not able to reach them and you hear they're working at the senior center, I will help them fill out the forms, I'll sit down, I'll do whatever I need to do to help them.
Thank you.
I too would volunteer as a drone to do anything I could. If it means going up the hollows, help sign up people, whatever.
I'll cart carry reader otherwise. Let's go.
Thank you all for the help and support.
Thank you.
No
That's
problem,
great.
this is
Thank you.
wonderful.
Okay, item B, smarter balance testing.
Dr. Armour asked a question about Smarter Balance bringing somebody. We couldn't find anybody down in the State Department that was free. We have a lady that we've had several times with teachers that's really excellent. That comes out of recess 7. She was booked up to come tonight, but I think I can get her to go to June meeting and come and talk to you about the Smarter Balance and stuff. And then once she let it go through the cracks, but we tried, couldn't find anybody, but she's willing to come up next board meeting.
That's good.
So I'll send her the information, things like that. One thing on the informational thing, we had a lady from the State Department come up, and we feed our elementary students. And we were looking at the high school, And if our figures come out right, we can feed our high school students and not them to pay anything for their lunch or their breakfast. I think for a minimum amount of money, as soon as I get it typed down, I would like to start feeding every one of our students. I don't wanna, I think some of our students don't eat because maybe they financially can't or something like that, but I don't want that to happen. We can do some bag-to-go lunch down here or breakfast in the morning like we've done in the past. But as soon as I get the figures from the state, and I really was shocked at how much it was gonna not cost us to feed. I was thinking a lot of money, and then when that lady said no this, I thought it's a no-brainer, but I wanna make sure we have everything in line before we come back to you through the hot lunch program. But I'd like to look at that very seriously about feeding our high school kids too.
It was being done. And then it had been canceled in what, 2013 or something?
It was a pilot program that they decided to let go down, yeah.
You know, most of us came out of an era where having meals was not an issue. Mom had breakfast ready and we had dinner in the evening, but we're dealing with a different climate today.
Oh, we didn't have latchkey kids then.
One of the saddest things I heard, two of them, a cook told me that the little boy would just gorge himself on Friday. And the cook knew why, because he wouldn't have anything to eat on the weekend. Now, a school bus driver, I said, I bet you're glad when Friday comes along. He said, no, I'm really not, I'm sad. And I said, why? He said, because a lot of the kids, he didn't use them a lot. He said, some of the kids he drops off, he knows they won't get a bite to eat for about 2 months.
That's sad.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Okay. We're ready for reports, discussion, follow-up. Dr. Armour, Gilmer Calhoun Career Center.
Okay, let me see here if I can find, I have so many papers floating around here. I'm going to have to find the one to talk from, and here's another sheet, okay.
And my extras, I passed them.
Right, and I think I have other people's papers too. Okay, the last meeting, 2 or 3 things that came up, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail. But one thing that really impressed me with the learning center down there, were it not for that, there would be 25 children in our 2 counties who wouldn't be getting a high school certificate. They wouldn't be graduating from high school. So that is one of the best investments. The benefit cost for that is really great. 25 people who wouldn't otherwise graduate from high school. They need some money down there to buy electronic equipment. They have 2 proposals in for equipment they need, welding and public safety, and that would be between $20,000 and $30,000 they need. Talked about the math situation down there. We still we have a problem. Children going to the career center aren't properly trained in reading and math. It's a chronic problem. And each month we've been meeting, we've been talking, okay, what are we gonna do with this application? So what we did, we just gave the director permission just to continually advertise. He doesn't have to go back to the board and get permission. And it really looks bleak about getting a math teacher. When we were trained at Flatwoods, and Howard Seifert was talking about the options we have for getting teachers from other areas. He talked about Teach for America. I don't know anything about that. I don't know, I'm not experienced with it, but he said the way that would work, if we need to get one of those individuals, that the recommendation would come from the superintendent. The superintendent would make the recommendation to the superintendent of schools. And were it to be approved, then we could get a teacher that way. But it doesn't look good that we're going to get a math teacher in the foreseeable future unless we do something. We have Senior Appreciation Day tomorrow, and it starts at 1, and everybody's invited to go to honor the people who are going to do that program down there. And here's something that's very, very positive. I think Mr. Devano has something to do with this. The Gilmer Elementary 6th grade visits currently 2 Gilmer Crowley 6th grade classes are scheduled to tour the center. Normantown Elementary is scheduled for a visit on June the 2nd. Sand Fork is visiting at June the 3rd. So that's what we need to do to get down to those levels. We have 14 Career Center students being inducted into the National Technical Honor Society, which is very good. And it looks like we're just about ready to have agreement with WVU at Cartersburg to get a certificate from down there for people in the criminal justice program. And that's very positive. We talked about the radio deal, and I think Mr. Devon has already taken care of that. They requested, Calhoun County requested $700 to buy a radio, our share of a radio, so that we can keep in contact with the bus drivers. So I guess that's part of it.
Did we determine
think
what was
Joe-
wrong with the radio?
Joe's working, they don't have a radio.
We didn't buy one when we did the new for all, because that's our school bus. We didn't put a new one in there?
The Career Center wants a radio,
Yes,
so
but
they
that's
can
a
get in
Gilmer County
touch,
school bus that they use.
so they can get in touch with our
I
bus.
know,
They
I read
can't.
the minutes.
They can't. They don't have a radio.
So it's a stationary.
It's not
in the
within the
center.
bus. Oh, it's a
in the
bus
center.
radio.
It's a center.
No, we have a bus radio.
It's in
They
the
don't,
center.
the center doesn't have a radio to
They
get in
want
touch
the
with us.
Communicate with the bus driver.
Yeah, okay, I understand that now. Okay, I thought it was a bus radio. I was trying to.
And just like a lot of things, it's not what's in the minutes, as you really pick up on. We were sitting there and a lady, I hadn't seen her before, I didn't know who she was, Darlene Smith.
That's she
Yes,
recommended.
and I didn't even know that.
She didn't tell you?
Well, you know, you go in there and you don't even, afterwards you start saying, who are you? Where
She
you
does
going?"
special ed out there.
Yeah,
She
okay.
donates, we donate her to special ed.
And she's down there 4 days a week at the Career Center in Fremont. But anyway, we got to talking about special education. And she was talking about all the rules and the regulations, and she said it was almost impossible for us to comply with what we're supposed to be doing. And various people around the table were talking and saying, you know, we need to do better, and we gotta be resourceful. And this kind of relates to something that Dr. Simmons talked about. If we're not doing as well as we could, is there any way that we can combine resources with other counties and maybe come up with a center so that we could do better with special education? It's something that take a heck of a lot of work, but I think there's so much attention being faced on this now, and we're not doing justice, and we may be able to save money by pulling resources and still do a better job.
And the percentage of students needing that special help seems to be increasing.
Well, Mr. Stearns talked about that, and he said there's a feeling for a lot of the students, and these aren't all special education students, we have people who can't go to the center. He said even the ones who are going to the center, they can't handle some of these people. He said we're gonna have to start thinking about even giving, what is there, a Mountaineer Academy or something? We need to even talk about sending some of the students to Mountaineer Academy. So anyway, if we could get Mrs. Smith and people who really know about this talking, I don't know anything about it, just what I've picked up here.
You're finding right now, we cannot find special ed teachers.
She said she
They're not
can't find
graduating.
qualified people.
I know some counties have 3 or 4 that are not there, that you had to get regular people. We're fortunate that we're short one. We had a lady that just graduated who is.
Yeah.
We haven't grabbed her. So, we
We have
posted
a
a job and so she applied for it, so we have her especially.
Great. Well, I was thinking, could we even use that Troy school for a regional center? This is something that Bill talked about.
Well, you know, I think these are some things, Carl, that we as a board can explore, because there gotta be some different ways of doing what we're doing, and the needs change over time.
Oh, boy.
Sometimes the landscape changes right around us, and we have to accommodate it. These children with special needs are not going away.
No.
They're here, and the more we can help them, the better chance they'll have of being independent and productive citizens.
But-
And it's complicated as to how we do it, but you know what Gabe says about special ed teachers, there's a national shortage of special education actually elementary, early childhood teachers. And that's why we're talking about having people teaching on permits and just having a bare minimum of qualifications. I also heard that same discussion about principals. We're hiring a lot of principals who are just very green, and it is not a kid's job, as
Yeah.
anyone knows.
Yeah.
So there's a lot out there that's needed. I think I'll interject a little here. I sense in listening to state board discussions that there is a movement to really tighten up on some of the issues we're talking about. Chancellor gave a report. He has had the teacher training institutions together at a summit, and I think I heard him correctly. They're going to do a better job of training teachers. So I think there's a movement that's started, but it's like growing a garden. It doesn't happen overnight, but I think these are some discussions that would be great for us.
Yeah,
See
you
what
can
happened?
bring Darlene in and make a presentation to us.
What happened several years ago, a lot of our teachers were going into special ed.
Yeah.
That way they get into the county. Once they get into the county as special ed, and the regular job comes up and they get out into the regular job. So we probably have a lot of teachers in our county that are special ed certified, but they stay in the regular classroom and stuff.
But it's something we're not even comfortable talking about. We're not even comfortable using the word special ed. But I understand that we may have 12 to 15% of our students and with these needs. That's a big block of people that we maybe neglected.
Washington State is having been a mother of Down syndrome foster child for several years. And my brother-in-law, he's 67 now, is a Down syndrome child. And they don't come much more special than the Down syndrome children. They have great potential. There are schools in Washington DC that excel in it for special children. There are schools in Maryland through ARC that excel in it. There's a lot of resources out there. And it needs to happen. It needs to happen right away. But right now in Gilmer County, unfortunately, we're sitting and we haven't even got our schools sorted out yet. You know. So all I would say is I'll support any avenue you want to go. I will work tirelessly for it because I believe that those children deserve to achieve to the maximum of their potential, whatever that may be. But we do need to get this school situation a handle on, and then that's certainly a worthy next project.
Okay, I'll give a brief report on RESA 7. We met in Upshur County on May 14th. Just so happened the Strawberry Festival was on. It just so happened they served a really fine strawberry shortcake for lunch. And I broke my sugar diet. A couple of things. Mike Pickens from the West Virginia Department of Education, School Facilities and Transportation discussed Senate Bill 592 with us, a crisis response plan. And I think every county has a crisis response plan, and it covers a whole lot of different issues that could arise. I also was interested to know that RESA does a lot of training for firefighters. It's more than picking someone up and getting on a fire truck. It's very, very extensive training. One other issue that came up, a discussion concerning year-round coaching.
Yeah.
And it was, there were a lot of opinions on that. It has surfaced in a lot of places, and I'm assuming right now the state board has this issue out on comment. Most of the folks we talked with seem to think that the public comment will be supportive of it. And I think, Gabe, you mentioned a couple of things that are going to be problematic for some counties. If someone's going to coach for 12 months, I can't think that there will not be payment tied to that 12 months of work. Now, I brought up the issue of English teachers and other academic areas where there's a lot of coaching needed, and someone pointed out they're not offering state championships in those areas. It's only in the sports arena. by and large, the feeling was that coaches are already doing it. They're already year-round coaching. So this would just legitimize what they're already doing. I think, depending a lot on where you're coming from, you know, you can be for it or against it. I'm not opposed to coaching, I'm not opposed to sports. But I think that, you know, there's such thing as getting things out of balance. And right now, we're heading out of balance in that one direction. I think it's a matter of time, and I've talked with several county board members, and they feel that while initially there's no increase in pay, that's just for now, that it will be coming. And the county, I think Gabe mentioned, you know, a county like Gilmer County, how can we afford, if all the coaches say we want 12-month contract, how do we afford that? And then how do you say no to your other teachers? So it's a big issue. I think we heard from Jim Crawford up at the board association meeting, and he was not opposed to it.
And what, does it increase liability as far as facilities and usage of the facilities?
You know, Bill,
No, it would.
that's something that's been going on for a long time. It's been going on illegally, you might as well say, that
Well, yeah.
they've had coaches in some of our larger counties, and they've had appointed coaches that's been having those practices right along, you know,
Volunteers.
volunteers. There've been volunteers. Those volunteers, you know, they get
Well-trained
paid, yeah,
volunteers.
well-trained volunteers, you know.
The
So-
biggest thing on there worried about with that was, the pressure you would be putting on kids. Like, in other words, if Misty's son or daughter was, hey, if you're gonna play on basketball team, you can play all year round. Don't worry about track, don't you worry about volleyball or anything. You're gonna concentrate on us and don't bother coming out. That was one of the big things that they were concerned was. Now, the West Virginia school administrators, which makes up the superintendents and county office people, wrote a letter opposing to it, to not do it. And, but it will cost, I don't care what anybody said, it will cost us money. Because no coach is gonna go here all year, all summer without asking for more money.
And when do the kids get any family time? I mean, we've already got them going to school, it's so close to having a little bit more than 1 month off that it's not even funny.
Somebody asked that question and they said sports comes first now.
I hear this.
I'd like to ask a question. I thought we were gonna have truancy on the agenda.
We are. We're getting right now, I have a meeting with Judy and the 2 principals here and a couple more principals together. We wanna get through graduation first.
That's
That's
fine.
okay?
One thing they talked about at the training was apparently there's a penalty for parents.
Yep.
And I brought this, an extra copy, I was going to give it to Judy. It's in there, but
Yep.
the new law passed.
Yeah, we were gonna get together and come up with a plan.
The judge.
Yeah, I
What,
saw
parent
a
can get,
guy with his hands cuffed behind him in Harrison or one of the counties close by because of that.
Really?
I'd like to answer a question before we get ready to go out of here, or you do your research report, because this is a discussion section, just as a board member. I wish Mr. Starkey had left, just so she could know that the board did not meet in private to not handle that issue she brought up, as far as the policy. You know, I just wanted to know the board did not do that.
I don't know, we met in private about
We
anything.
never met in private on anything. She was talking about the delegation policy, but there was some discrepancy, so we brought forward.
One thing they did talk about, pardon
But I didn't want her to think that, you know, that was all. I wish she had stayed. If she had stayed, I would have told her that in this portion.
one thing that they did bring up at this training, and it's related to what you're talking about, that when a delegation comes in and a person asks a question or asks for follow-up information, that someone ought to give them that information. May not be what they want to hear, but that was discussed, that we ought to be doing that.
You can refer to me.
Yeah,
Can't.
we can't, the board members can't do it.
You can just say, we'll let the superintendent handle that with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
We can ask questions for clarification.
But we-
Clarifications only, right?
Right.
But But you can ask me to get back with them on, yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
can
do
do that.
we have to formally ask you, or
Is
one
that
person
on the
ask the
agenda? How
question?
do you
Yeah,
put that
first
in?
time I ask a question, you can turn it over and say,
Mr.
our
Bonner, would you
superintendent
handle
will get back with you.
I didn't know that, okay.
See, that would've been nicer than just not responding.
Well, I was sitting there thinking,
I was waiting on you.
well, I can't respond to her either.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know
I
what
was
the
gonna
appropriate
wait
thing.
till after the meeting and say.
But that's why I
it wasn't
waited until
true.
this portion. I thought, well, I could at least make that comment
Yeah.
because, you know, I don't want the public to perceive that that's been done. It has not been done.
But
And
again, with
I
the
feel she knows
Cornerstone,
that.
you brought that gentleman back, and we brought him back as a place on the agenda.
Right.
That's why he got to talk a little longer,
Right, I
because he
understand.
became part of our agenda, that's where the confusion was.
Well, I
with
wasn't
that.
debating about the time issue, just, you know,
No, I
just what
know,
she
but
had
I'm
said
just
about
saying
the policy
that we
and
had
it being
more-
on the agenda, which was true. And it was tabled and to be brought forward. I don't
Okay.
know how that happened, but I just didn't want her to think that was
We're
true.
down to item 9, adjournment. Do I hear a motion that we
I'll
adjourn?
make that motion.
Make 'em up.
Lou, got a second?
Second.
All right, stand adjourned. Thank you.